Hi guys, this is Kimberly from Lakeside Loops, and today I'm going to show you how to make the Watson Waffle cardigan. I know so many of you have been waiting a long time for this pattern, and I'm really excited to be sharing it. The video tutorial is just going to cover the basics. So for the full written instructions, you can find the free written pattern on my website, lakesideloops.com. There are pictures, the full details, stitch counts, the yardage that you need, everything you need to know is on the blog. So just head to the website, all the info's there, and then you can use this video if you want to know exactly how to do the waffle stitch. I'm going to go over seaming the sweater together, the trim, how to count your rows. This video will be really helpful, or at least I hope that it is. We're going to start this off by making panel A, which is the sides and the upper back, or the longest rectangle. Within the written pattern, you can find the exact chain length that you need to make depending on which size you're doing. I'm just making a small sample to show you the stitches that you're going to be using. So again, head to the blog, all the information's there, your chain length, your stitch counts, the whole 9 yards. So it says to chain whatever the number is, and then double crochet in the third chain from your hook. So 1, 2, 3. We're going to double crochet into this chain. And then we're going to double crochet in each chain until we get to the very end. So we're just going to work down the chain, making a double crochet. All right, so I've finished row 1. Row 2 says to chain 2 and then turn. So we're going to be working the opposite direction now. And we're going to be doing a front post double crochet, a front post double crochet, and then just a regular double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to be putting my hook behind the post of the first stitch. I'm going to grab some yarn and bring it back around the stitch with me. I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through the last 2 to complete my front post double crochet. I'm going to do that same thing again around the next stitch. And now in the third stitch, we just work a regular double crochet into the stitch. We're just going to repeat this process all the way down our row. So my double crochet went in there, so I go behind the post of this stitch and work my first front post double crochet, a second around the next stitch, and then a regular double crochet into the next stitch. I'm at the end of row 2, and I just want to show you that my last double crochet goes into sort of the beginning chain from my first row. I want to make sure to get that last stitch in. So you should end with a regular double crochet. Okay, so this has been the back of our waffle. Now we're going to chain 2 for row 3 and turn, and this is where the front of our waffle is going to start to take shape. So I'm going to double crochet into the first 2 stitches and then front post double crochet around the next stitch. So into this stitch, a double crochet, double crochet into the next stitch, and now a front post double crochet around the third stitch. You can sort of see your first little square taking shape there. We're just going to repeat this all the way down the row. Okay, so I'm almost to the end of row 3, and I just want to show you, I work my last stitch around the beginning chain of my previous row. So my last stitch should always be, with row 3, a front post double crochet. So I'm going to put my hook around that chain and work a front post double crochet. So that is really all that you need to know in order to do the waffle stitch. And that makes up the majority of this pattern. Next, I'm going to show you how to do the trim, but as long as you can do the waffle stitch, you can make up all the pieces of this design. The trim is the only part that's a little bit different. Okay, so we're on to the trim. The pocket trim and the cardigan trim use the same stitches, so I'm just going to show you here on this pocket that I've already worked up how the trim works. So you're just going to continue on from where you left off making your pocket, the waffle part of your pocket. It says to chain 2 and then turn. You're going to be doing front post half double crochets all the way down this row. So at this point you're pretty familiar with front post stitches, and this is just a half double crochet instead of a double crochet. And make sure not to leave any stitches out, including the ones that are sort of set further back, like in here and in here. Okay, so just like when we were working our waffle, I'm at the end of row 1 of my trim, and I don't want to forget this chain. I want to make sure that I work a front post half double crochet around that as well. So just check your stitch count. It should be the stitch count for the trim is the exact same as it was for the waffle. So just make sure you're okay. So pocket trim row number 2, we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn our work. So we'll be working in the front this time. We're going to front post half double crochet around the first stitch and then single crochet into the next stitch. We're going to do that all the way down the row. So front post half double crochet, so half post front double crochet, sorry, yeah, I said that right, front post half double crochet the first stitch, and then single crochet into the next stitch. And we're going to do this all the way down our row. Row 3 of the trim is really easy. You're just going to chain 1, you're going to turn, and you're going to single crochet down your row in each stitch. Just a regular old single crochet. All right, so row 4, I think this is the row that has the potential to be the most confusing. You're going to chain 1 and turn. So again, we're working so that our waffles are facing us. We are going to front post double crochet around the front post stitch from row 2. So we're not going to be working our front posts around the row that we just made. We're going to be going down to this row and front posting around these stitches that are sort of popping out at us. So I've yarned over and I'm going to go down and put my hook behind that stitch, that front post stitch, and I'm going to work my front post double crochet. Now I'm going to go into the next stitch and simply single crochet. So again, we're front post double crocheting around these stitches that are popping out. These front post stitches from 2 rows ago, sorry. And then single crocheting into the next stitch. So you just continue on repeating row 3 and row 4, and it'll tell you where to stop to finish your trim off. And then the trim that goes around the bottom of the cardigan is the same stitches. Okay, I'm going to attempt to show you this as best I can. I'm holding my camera, so I apologize for the shakiness, but the camera I use is zoomed in, so this is the best that I can do. So panel A is this long piece here. Panel B is this shorter rectangle here. When we seam them together, what we're doing is seaming the top of panel B, so the last row that you did in panel B, to the middle of one of the long sides of panel A. It doesn't matter which side you seam this to, you could flip it around and seam it over there, or you can seam it here as long as it's in the middle. So for the size 6 kids that I did, I need you to count over 36 squares, and the 37th square is where I attach it to panel 6 or panel B. So 36 squares, number 37 is where I start the attachment, and then on the 37th square over from this end is where it ends. So I'm starting up here, the 37th square on the side of this long panel is being attached to the very, I guess, last square in panel B. With panel B, you want to make sure that you're attaching your last row to panel A and not your first row, because your first row looks a little bit different. Sorry, I'm ruining the focus. Your first row looks a little bit different than your last, and it'll match up really well with the ends of this piece, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. All right, fear not, I've put the camera back on the tripod so the shaky video is over. And now I'm going to zoom in and show you how I slip stitch panel A to panel B. So I've just slipped my hook into, I guess, the top of this post right here. The beginning of this is square number 37, square number 1, or the end, I guess, depending on how you're looking at it. I'm just going to grab my yarn and pull it through. And I'm just going to be inserting my hook into panel A, a stitch in panel A, and then that same stitch in panel B. And I'm going to grab some yarn, pull it through, and complete my slip stitch. So again, insert into panel A, into panel B, grab some yarn, pull it through, and complete my slip stitch. Now I'll come back and tie this yarn off when I'm done. The only thing you need to be careful of is that you're matching up squares as you go. So you want to try to line things up as best as you can. So on panel B, you can very easily see your stitches because you're working into your last row. On panel A, you're working along the side, so you can't really see, there aren't really any stitches to work into. But what you want to try to do is do 3 slip stitches per square. And again, you just want to make sure you get the squares lined up as you go down. Now, the other option instead of slip stitching would be to sew panel A to panel B using a darning needle and some yarn, which is what I did with this adult cardigan. So you can see here the effect when you slip stitch. It's quite bulky. You can tell that there's a join there. When you sew, it's almost seamless. You can't, this is my seam, you almost can't even tell. So it's up to you which method you prefer. I don't think the seam along the back would necessarily look bad. It's going to be straight across the top of your back, but definitely a little bit more seamless with the needle. So I'm going to show you the sewing method that I prefer. Like I said, it's almost seamless. You can see, and it's pretty sturdy too. I've sewn part of it up here, and this is my seam. I'm just laying my panel B on top of my panel A and sewing it down like that because this edge is a lot cleaner than the panel A edge. I've threaded my darning needle with my yarn, and I am working, throwing my needle down over top of, so that the yarn will go over top of my post. And then onto panel A, I'm just going to sort of loop it like this. And then I'm going to bring it back up to panel B just before the post. And then back down again. And then through this middle section of my waffle on panel A. And then back up again just before the last stitch in panel B. And then I can tie that off, and I have secured it together. Okay, don't hate me, but I have to do the shaky handheld camera again because I need to show you what we're going to do next. So now I've got my long panel A piece still up here. Panel B is now attached to it. I'm going to take this corner of panel A and I'm gonna bring it down to meet the bottom of panel B. Like this. I'm gonna do the same thing over here with this end, and I'm gonna bring it down to meet the corner. So you're folding your panel A down so that, trying to get my, there we go, so that this corner will meet this corner and this corner will meet this corner. It's even more clear if you go to the website. I have diagrams there and pictures. Now we're gonna start seaming this together and this together. All right, so at this point you can flip your cardigan over, attach your pockets, and add your trim to the bottom of the cardigan. The full instructions on how to do this are on the blog. I'm not gonna go over it in the video tutorial because we've already covered the basics of how to do these things, and I've run out of time on this video. So I hope that you found it helpful. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this pattern. I can't wait to see pictures of you guys and your family in the cardigans, so please don't forget to tag me, and I would also love if you took a minute to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.